All right, so are you ready to get into this new Superman reboot?
Yeah, let's go.
Cool. You're probably here because you're like a huge Superman fan and like dying for details. Or maybe the hype around James Gunn's DCU plans has you curious?
Right.
Yeah, and our mission for this deep dive is to kind of unpack what this trailer actually tells us, about the plot, the themes, the overall style, and we really want to look at what makes this Superman different. Especially if you've been a fan, for years.
Right off the bat, we see something really different.
Yeah.
Like that opening shot of Superman up in the Arctic.
Yeah.
Bruised, bleeding, struggling to breathe,
Yeah.
It's setting a tone that I don't think we've really seen before.
Yeah, it really does subvert that whole invincible Superman image.
Yeah.
But, showing him vulnerable, doesn't that make his resilience even more powerful? We're seeing him overcome actual struggle, not just brushing off, punches.
Exactly. Like it raises the stakes.
Yeah.
Every victory, every act of heroism becomes more meaningful because we understand, the cost.
Right.
He's not just a god among men.
Yeah.
He's fighting to be better, to be stronger, despite, being capable of being hurt.
Yeah. And speaking of unexpected things, how about Crypto?
Oh, yeah.
A super dog. It's so out there, yet it feels kind of perfect.
It's funny because Crypto actually has deep roots, back in the comics.
Really?
Yeah, he's more than just a cute sidekick.
Oh, right.
His inclusion here, I think, signals that Gunn's willing to embrace those, classic, sometimes even goofy parts of Superman's world. But it does make you think, what role will Crypto play beyond just, Superman's pal?
Right. Well, he is a link to Krypton. It's not just a dog. He's a Kryptonian dog.
Exactly.
So could his arrival somehow connect to Superman's emotional journey in the film? Maybe treasure memories of his lost home or something?
It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider that really poignant scene of Superman mourning the destroyed Kill-X robot.
Oh, yeah.
That loss. It feels more personal to me than just property damage.
Yeah.
It hints at his vulnerability.
Yeah.
His emotional connection to his Kryptonian heritage.
Right. And that brings us to the tagline, look up.
Yeah.
It's so simple, yet it just carries so much weight.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's like the classic Superman intro, but it also seems to tap into this idea of hope and inspiration, especially in a world that can feel so cynical these days.
It's like they took a page from Top Gun. Maverick.
Yeah.
That same kind of yearning for something uplifting to believe in. But it also reminds me of the DC animated universe's Superman.
Okay.
Which, offered a take that was both familiar and fresh.
Right.
So perhaps this is aiming for a similar vibe.
Speaking of familiar, can we talk about the Daily Planet?
Oh, yeah.
It is straight out of the comics. The detail is incredible.
James Gunn has said he wants a world that feels ripped from the pages.
Yeah.
And I think he delivers the Daily Planet. It's not just a backdrop.
Right.
It's meticulously designed. It's teeming with all these little details that are going to reward, longtime fans.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm not just talking about deep cuts like Steve Lombard and Cat Grant.
Yeah.
But even smaller things like, Clark's peanut butter jar.
It's true. It shows a deep love
Yeah.
and understanding of the source material.
Definitely.
And that attention to detail extends to the casting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor.
Interesting.
I mean, he's played villains. He's played sympathetic roles.
Right.
So what kind of Lex are we getting here?
Well, the trailer really emphasizes Lex's early hatred, for Superman.
Yeah.
They even use Luthor Corp instead of LexCorp.
Oh, interesting.
Which suggests he's younger, maybe more volatile.
Yeah,
This isn't the calculated corporate Lex that we're used to.
Right.
Could this be a Lex that's driven by something deeper, something more personal than just a lust for power?
Yeah, maybe even a Lex who in some twisted way sees himself as the hero.
Possibly.
And then we have Stag Industries.
Oh, yeah.
Adding another layer of intrigue.
For sure.
They're known for being morally ambiguous in the comics.
Yeah.
And we even see other heroes like Guy Gardner and Hawk Girl and Mr. Terrific, who might be working for them.
Interesting.
So is this setting up a conflict between corporate-sponsored heroism and Superman's ideals?
It's certainly possible.
Yeah.
Imagine Superman who believes in these selfless acts of good.
Right.
Clashing with heroes who are essentially employees.
Yeah.
following orders and maybe crossing lines that Superman just wouldn't.
It's true.
What happens when the definition of hero becomes muddled by, corporate interests?
Right.
It's a question this film seems to be exploring.
Yeah. And speaking of muddled, let's talk about Brainiac.
Okay.
This villain is all about control, collecting cities by shrinking them.
Right.
So does that explain that mysterious cube prison that Superman is trapped in?
Yeah.
And what about those kaiju?
The cube could definitely be Brainiac tech.
Okay.
And the kaiju, maybe they're escapees from his collection.
Oh.
Which could explain why Superman is in that prison in the first place.
Interesting.
And remember, there's been buzz about Alan Tudyk's role.
Oh, yeah.
And some people speculate he might be voicing Brainiac.
That would be awesome. But shifting gears a bit, there's a scene that really struck me.
Okay.
It's that boy in a war-torn country raising a Superman flag.
Right.
But it's contrasted with people turning on Superman back in Metropolis. So what does that tell us?
That's such a powerful juxtaposition.
It is.
It suggests that Superman's involvement in global affairs might have unintended consequences.
Oh, okay.
Leading to public backlash.
Yeah.
His actions might be heroic, but are they always welcome?
Right.
Does the world see him as a savior or an unwelcome meddler?
Right. It reminds me of Superman, Birthright, where we see that same struggle with public distrust, that fear of the alien even when he's trying to help.
Exactly.
And speaking of complex characters, we catch glimpses of Metamorpho, another hero with some seriously unique abilities.
Right.
And he's connected to Stag Industries. So does this link suggest that his powers are being exploited?
It definitely raises questions about control and exploitation.
Right.
Metamorpho can transform his body into different elements. It's incredibly powerful, but also potentially dangerous.
Yeah.
So is Superman going to have to grapple with not just villains, but a system that might be abusing heroes?
That's a lot to deal with, even for Superman.
Yeah.
And then there's that blink and you miss it shot of Ultraman.
Oh, yeah.
The Superman counterpart who's powered by kryptonite.
Right.
What's the significance of that fight?
It's interesting because it taps into the classic, evil Superman trope. It's a chance for our Superman to define himself against this, darker reflection.
Oh, yeah.
To show what truly separates him from someone with, similar powers, but a totally different moral compass.
And to face someone who's fueled by his own weakness, kryptonite.
Yeah.
That's a whole other level of complexity.
It is.
It feels like this film is really asking, what does it truly mean to be Superman? In a world where the lines between good and bad hero and celebrity are constantly shifting.
Yeah. A lot to unpack there.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we need to go deeper on some of these points.
I agree with you. Let's keep going.
Yeah, it seems like this Superman is going to face challenges not just from villains,
Right.
but from the very people he's trying to protect.
It's true.
I mean, we see him cheered, we see him feared.
Yeah.
We even see him, worshipped.
Yeah.
It speaks to that complicated relationship that he has with humanity.
Right. He's this alien who embodies hope and power. But he's also young, maybe still figuring things out. And the trailer really plays with that idea of Superman as a symbol.
Yeah.
Remember that look up tagline? But this time it's juxtaposed with shots of Clark Kent looking down, almost burdened.
Oh, yeah. That's a brilliant visual metaphor.
Yeah.
As Superman, he soars above it all, this beacon of inspiration.
Right.
But as Clark Kent, he's down here with us, carrying the weight of expectations, of hopes, maybe even of resentment.
It makes you think about the sacrifices he makes every single day.
Yeah.
It's not just stopping the bad guys.
Right.
It's navigating this impossible role as a symbol in a world that needs him.
Yeah.
But doesn't always understand him.
And that's where James Gunn's vision feels really sharp. He's not just rehashing the Superman we know.
Right.
He's asking what Superman means in our world.
Right.
A world grappling with things like public distrust, manipulation, the ethics of power itself.
Yeah, and those themes are echoed through characters like Simon Stagg and his corporation.
Oh, yeah.
They represent a different kind of power.
Right.
One that's less about heroism and more about control and profit.
Yeah.
So how does Superman reconcile his ideals with a world where even good intentions can be twisted?
Well, Stag Industries is the perfect foil for Superman.
Oh, okay.
They're willing to exploit metahuman abilities for profit.
Yeah.
Blurring the lines between doing good and serving a corporate agenda. So imagine the conflict when Superman, who believes in selfless acts, confronts heroes who are basically on someone's payroll.
Yeah.
Maybe even crossing lines he wouldn't.
Yeah, and it's not just corporations he's up against.
Right.
The trailer shows people turning on him, you know, throwing things, chanting his name in anger. Like that scene with the boy raising the Superman flag in a war-torn country, only to be contrasted with the backlash back in Metropolis.
Right.
It's heartbreaking. Are even Superman's good intentions enough in a world like this?
It highlights the danger of intervention. Like the idea that even Superman's strength can't always solve complex problems.
Right.
Good intentions can have unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Especially in a world where things are already volatile.
So we have Superman dealing with corporate agendas, public distrust.
Yeah.
But it gets deeper.
Okay.
We see Metamorpho, a hero with the ability to transform his body into different elements tied to Stag Industries.
Right.
It's like they're weaponizing compassion itself.
Metamorpho's powers are incredible.
Yeah.
But imagine the ethical dilemmas.
Right.
Can that kind of power even be controlled? Is it truly good if it's being manipulated by a corporation?
It's like Superman isn't just fighting villains.
Right.
He's fighting a system that might be corrupt at its core.
Exactly.
And then there's Brainiac.
Yeah.
A villain all about control, about hoarding information and power.
Right.
It makes you think about the role of information in the film itself.
Exactly. I mean, we see news reports, social media, even Lex Luthor pulling strings, all pointing to a world where information is a weapon.
Right.
You know, Superman's not just fighting physical threats.
Yeah.
He's fighting a war for the narrative, for the truth.
Which ties back to that look-up tagline.
Right.
On one hand, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
But could it also be a form of control?
Yeah.
You know, directing people's attention, shaping how they see the world.
You're hitting on something really insightful there.
Yeah.
Even the most positive symbols can be manipulated, used for agendas that go against their original meaning.
It's making me think about how media shapes our understanding of everything, especially in a time when it's so easy to spread misinformation.
Right. This film seems ready to tackle these big, messy issues.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it exciting.
Totally.
It's not just capes and explosions.
Right.
It's holding a mirror up to our world, to our anxieties and our hopes.
And at the center of it all is Superman, trying to be this symbol of good, while the world tries to pull him down, to define him on its own terms.
It's a classic struggle.
Yeah.
But one that feels incredibly relevant right now. We've only scratched the surface, though.
Right.
We haven't even touched on details like that brief glimpse of Ultraman.
Oh, yeah. And the shot of Superman kissing Lois Lane without his glasses.
Oh, interesting.
Does that mean she knows his secret?
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just a moment of intimacy.
Okay.
A peek into their relationship. Whatever it is, Lois is clearly going to play a significant role here.
Yeah.
It's not just a romantic subplot.
Right.
She's a journalist.
Yeah.
Someone dedicated to finding the truth.
Which could put her on a collision course with people like Lex Luthor who want to control the narrative.
Exactly. And amidst all this chaos,
yeah,
we have Krypto.
Right.
Sure, he's connected to Superman's past, but he also represents something else. Don't you think?
Totally. What is it?
Krypto is a symbol of loyalty, of unconditional love.
Oh.
That unwavering support might be exactly what Superman needs.
Yeah.
In a world that's constantly questioning him.
He's a reminder that even when things are at their darkest, there are those who believe in him.
Right.
Who offer support without judgment.
It speaks to the heart of Superman's enduring appeal, you know?
Yeah.
He's not just about power. He's about compassion, hope, the bonds that connect us, even across species.
And we see those bonds being tested.
Yeah.
Betrayals, conflicts, even among the heroes themselves.
Which brings us back to that idea of Superman as an outsider.
Yeah.
Even among those with extraordinary abilities. You know, he has to forge his own path, decide what it means to be a hero when the lines are blurred.
It's a lot to ask of one person.
Yeah.
Even Superman.
It is.
But I'm betting he's up to the challenge.
I think so too, and that's what makes this so compelling.
Yeah.
We're not just watching a hero punch bad guys.
Right.
We're watching him navigate a world that's as complex as our own.
I agree. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and wrap up this deep dive.
Okay, so we've talked about this Superman's vulnerability and, you know, how the world reacts to him. And even the whole thing about, you know, corporate-sponsored heroism.
Right.
But there's this other layer that I don't think we fully explored.
Okay.
Which is like the film style itself.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The trailer hints at, a slightly grittier aesthetic than some of the more, colorful, fantastical Superman films we've seen.
Which honestly I think works in the film's favor.
Yeah.
It reinforces that this isn't a Superman in a perfect world.
Right.
He's dealing with real problems, real consequences, even like the muted colors make those pops of brightness.
Yeah.
Like his suit stand out even more.
It's a subtle visual reminder that, even in a world that feels dark,
yeah,
there's still hope. There's still that beacon of light.
Right. And that's not even mentioning the music.
Oh, the music. Yeah. That electric guitar riff layered over the classic John Williams theme.
It's brilliant.
It gives me chills. It's like the film is saying, this is Superman, but not as you know him.
Yeah.
And that subversion of expectations goes beyond just the style.
Right.
We see people turning on Superman.
Yeah.
Questioning him, even attacking him.
That's such a bold choice.
It is.
It forces Superman to confront like the complexities of being a symbol.
Yeah.
That not everyone will see him as a savior.
Right.
Some might even see him as a threat.
It raises the stakes in a whole new way.
It does.
Like, if the people he's trying to protect turn against him, where does that leave him?
Yeah.
Who does he turn to?
It's a question the film seems to be asking. And I'm really eager to see how Superman navigates that challenge, both internally and externally.
Especially when it comes to his relationships.
Yeah.
We've talked about, Crypto and Jonathan Kent as these anchors.
Yeah.
But what about Lois?
I think Lois is going to be key here. Not just as a love interest, as like a confidant, a voice of reason.
Right.
And as a journalist, she's dedicated to truth.
Yeah.
Which could put her at odds with those who want to control the narrative, like Lex Luthor.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see how their dynamic evolves, especially if she learns, his secret identity.
Right. Will it strengthen their bond, or will it create new challenges?
Right. So many questions.
I know.
And we'll have to wait to get those answers.
Yeah.
But that's half the fun, isn't it?
It is.
All the theories and speculation leading up to the release.
This trailer has given us so much to think about, to discuss and debate.
It has. We've got a Superman who's vulnerable, a world that's more complex than ever, and a story that's tackling, big thought-provoking themes.
For sure.
It's a new direction for the Man of Steel, and I, for one, can't wait to see where it goes.
Me neither. And, it leaves us with a question that I think is worth pondering. What does it mean to be a good Superman in a world where the lines between hero and celebrity, right and wrong, are so blurred?
It's a great question.
What do you hope to see in this new iteration?
That's definitely something to think about as we all eagerly await the Superman reboot.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time for another exploration of fascinating worlds.
Sounds good.
From pop culture to history to science, we cover it all.
I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. See you then.